Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Coronavirus Facts versus Myths. I'm Rishika Barwa. Top focus story is the India COVID numbers. 45,352 new cases in the last 24 hours. 366 deaths have been reported in this time period. Now remember, yesterday was a worrying story because we saw the single biggest surge in 2 months. Today's cases compared to yesterday are about 3% lower. So that's as far as the cases are concerned. Deaths have also declined quite sharply. Deaths are below the 400 mark. The 7-day average at the moment is around 434, and the deaths in the last 24 hours have been 366. So that's a decline in terms of the number of deaths. As far as vaccination is concerned, well, in the last 24 hours, India has vaccinated 74.84 lakh people. 74,84,333 people have been vaccinated. This is again a dip from the previous 24 hours. Almost 6 lakh lesser people have been vaccinated. The good news is that the recovery rate is high, almost 97.5%, and the daily positivity rate has also been below 3% now for 70 days. It's currently at 2.7%. But the million-dollar question, even though we've vaccinated over 70 lakh people in the last 24 hours, is it really enough to achieve the target of 60% vaccinations by December 2021? We are still at a shortfall of around 3.4 million vaccinations per day. So that's the vaccine equation as it stands currently. We need to be vaccinating over 1 crore individuals on a daily basis, and having achieved that now, we know that it's possible. Well, our top focus story on the show today. The new C.1.2 variant of COVID-19 first found in Africa has become, well, a new cause of worry. Scientists say that the strain may have a greater ability to evade antibodies that protect you from COVID-19. What we know so far is that C.1.2 is a mutation of C.1, which was first found in South Africa. A study yet to be peer-reviewed has said that the C.1.2 has mutated quite substantially as compared to C.1. The same study, which is yet to be peer-reviewed, also claims that C.1.2 is more infectious. Many scientists say that this is a strain that could potentially have the ability to evade antibodies, raising several questions on whether our vaccines, current set of vaccines, will work. Experts say that there is more immune evasion properties than Delta. Now, this is worrying because the Delta variant is a cause of concern because of the fact that it could evade vaccine immunity, or it could even evade antibodies that have been created as a result of a natural infection. The World Health Organization, however, has said that the C.1.2 is not yet a variant of concern, a variant of interest, or even a variant to follow. The government has clarified that there are no C.1.2 cases found in India yet. So why are we talking about it? Well, we're talking about it because the BMC has put in place new rules as far as passengers landing in Mumbai are concerned. And these rules essentially say that if you're coming from a certain set of countries, there is a mandatory RT-PCR test that you have to do upon landing in Mumbai. And this is being done with the fear of the C.1.2 strain. And for the benefit of our viewers, we've listed out the countries that these rules apply to. So if you're landing in Mumbai from the UK, from any European country, from any Middle Eastern country, from any South African country, Brazil or Bangladesh, well, then you will have to get a mandatory RT-PCR test on arrival at your own expense. Now, having said that, one more point of clarification important to note here is where is C.1.2 found so far? Now, it was initially found in South Africa. That's where the strain has originated. We know C.1.2 is more transmissible than C.1. That's what scientists are claiming. But where else is it being found? So, it's being found, of course, in South Africa. It's being found in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is Central Africa, in the UK, China, Mauritius, New Zealand, Portugal, and Switzerland. So this is what we know about the C.1.2. I want to now bring in a panel of experts to try and understand how worried should we be about C.1.2. So far, the information that we have is not from peer-reviewed studies. So let's get in experts to try and understand that. We have Dr. Vedam Ramprasad, the scientist CEO of MedGenome, with us. We also have Julian Tang, consultant virologist, clinical microbiology, University Hospitals of Leicester. He's from the NHS Trust. And Dr. Hemant Deshmukh, Dean of the KEM Hospital, joining us as well. I want to begin by asking Dr. Deshmukh. Dr. Deshmukh, as someone who's in Mumbai and monitoring the situation very closely, how do you look at these BMC guidelines? Because, it's the first acknowledgement really of the fact that, look, C.1.2 is something we need to worry about.
Yeah, definitely the new variant, that is C.1.2, may be more infectious and it can always evade the vaccine protection. Now, having said that, this type of variant, which is definitely a variant of concern, has been found initially in China, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and other countries that you have said. But according to the yet to be peer-reviewed study, what we know in the first fortnight of August, that the virus was very rampant in these countries, and definitely this has more mutations than the variants of concern. So this more number of mutations is definitely going to cause a lot of havoc if adequate measures are not taken on time.
Dr. Julian, if I can come to you in the meanwhile, but before we get into the brass tacks of what is C.1.2, it's interesting that so much has been actually said about it. Many studies that haven't been peer-reviewed saying it could potentially be more infectious, it could potentially have more immune escape mechanism. Why then does the WHO not think so? Because it hasn't been listed as a variant of interest or a variant of concern. Do you think that needs reconsideration?
Yes, well, I mean, the studies haven't been done yet to show increased transmissibility or increased vaccine escape in peer-reviewed journals. So the WHO is actually hesitating to do this until those are confirmed. Normally, when you move from a variant of interest to a variant of concern, you need to demonstrate some enhanced properties like increased transmissibility or vaccine escape. And those lab-based studies and real-world population studies haven't been done yet.
Right. So you're saying there isn't enough peer-reviewed data at the moment to actually deem this C.1.2 as more transmissible. Do we prima facie have any information on how it's different from Delta?
Oh, yes. So the mutations are known, the sequence is known. The C.1.2 has some of the same mutations as the Beta South African variant, as well as the Gamma Brazilian variant, and the UK Alpha variant. It has a 501Y, it has a 484K. Some of them have a 478K, that's in the Delta variant. So those combination of mutations we know in the other VOCs, Alpha, Beta, Gamma, do confer enhanced transmissibility and enhanced vaccine escape properties. But the actual combination can give rise to a slightly different overall picture. So, for example, the Gamma variant was expected to be more transmissible, more vaccine escape capable, looking at the mutations. But the combination doesn't make it as vaccine escape capable or as transmissible as these Beta South African variants,
right?
Even though the differences are just very slight.
All right. When we say immune evasion properties, Dr. Deshmukh, can you explain to our viewers, and once again, we're putting this out with a disclaimer that a lot of the studies, like Dr. Julian's also clarified, are not peer-reviewed yet. So this is data that still needs to be verified in a certain sense. But the fact that the BMC has already put in guidelines and one sort of city has taken note of C.1.2 and is putting in mandatory RT-PCR, it is definitely a conversation worth having. Dr. Deshmukh, immune escape mechanism, is that something that is a huge cause of worry, because it questions whether our vaccines, which is currently our first line of defense against COVID, whether they will work against this new variant?
Yeah, there are three basic premises on which the resistance to the virus arises. One is, according to this mutation rate of about 41.8 mutations per year with this C.1.2 lineage is definitely a cause for worry. Now, the spike protein is used by the SARS-CoV virus to infect and enter the human cells, and most vaccines will target this region. Now, this mutation, which has been associated with immune escape from certain antibodies, have been noticed in C.1.2 sequence. So, while we say that the vaccine may not work, it is not always true that the vaccine may not work, but the spike protein which is present will definitely evade the vaccine, and we will not be immune to the vaccination that is being undertaken. But some kind of escape will always be there with the new mutations which are happening day in and day out.
And that's really the big cause of worry, isn't it? We do have Dr. Vedam back with us as well. Dr. Vedam, I believe we've managed to fix that line with you. We had to interrupt you earlier. You were explaining to our viewers what is C.1.2 and how is it different from Delta. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so can you hear me, Gagina?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so it belongs to the same lineage of the C1 strain, which in last May 2020 was seen in South Africa and spread to other countries.
Yes.
And you already mentioned several countries where C1.2 is seen. Currently, this is a very small proportion of cases in South Africa and few other countries. But you need to note that it's about 3% of the cases in South Africa as of July 2021 make up to C.1.2. So the important thing is at the rate at which it's mutating or the rate at which it's spreading is almost equivalent to the Delta or Gamma viruses. So we need to see which is fitter, which is more fitter. So if Delta is going to be fitter, it remains to be a dominant strain. But if C.1.2 remains to be fitter than Delta, then it should supersede the Delta sooner.
You're saying that it could potentially supersede Delta as well. Do we know, Dr. Vedam, any evidence that suggests is it more deadly, less deadly than Delta? Can it cause more severe infection? Are we any closer to answering those questions?
Yes. So look at the evidence currently available. It has got about roughly 59 mutations from the early Wuhan strain. And it has got 14 mutations in the spike protein, and many of them are the common mutations that have been seen in alpha, beta, gamma, and delta variants. For example, D614G variant, which was seen in all these variants of concern or variants of interest, which have been seen earlier, which is thought to enhance viral replication. And the known N501Y mutation, again found in alpha, beta, and gamma, which is thought to improve the spike protein binding to the cellular receptors, making the virus more contagious. And another one, E4I4K, again seen in beta and gamma variants, which have the virus to slip past the body's immune response by evading the neutralization antibodies, is also there. Now, more importantly, you need to understand there are two variants, N679K and Y449H, which are new ones in C.1.2, which we do not know the impact of it yet.
Right.
So that is why it has not been still labeled as a variant of concern.
Right.
But it's spreading, it's evolving fast, so we need to cautiously watch. But again, to reiterate the point to everyone, vaccinations. This will reduce significantly the hospitalizations and even death.
All right. So even though immune escape mechanism means you could potentially get infected, what all experts have reiterated time and time again is don't focus on the variant, but focus on getting yourself vaccinated. Yes. Dr. Julian, I'd like to give you the last word. You know, in terms of our response to new and emerging variants like C.1.2, a lot of it is still in the realm of the unknown. A lot of it still needs to be peer reviewed. Do you think we need to step up precautionary measures against new emerging variants like C.1.2?
Yeah, so this is a difficult question because sometimes if you step up measures and increase restrictions, that variant may not turn out to be as transmissible or as deadly as people predict, and then people will lose trust in these interventions. But then again, if you delay too much and the variant turns out to be fairly more transmissible and vaccine escape capable, then you're too late. So this is a very difficult decision. Based on what we know from these existing mutations that my colleagues just outlined as well, we can expect some enhanced transmissibility, we can expect some enhanced vaccine escape capability. How much governments want to react to this is really down to local capacity and the willingness of the public to accept this. What I would suggest is if you increase the testing, maintain your masking and social distancing until we know better about how these variants evolve in the real world, that'd be probably a precautionary approach.
Right. So precautionary approach has to be, once again, COVID appropriate behavior. One doesn't want to sound alarmist about C.1.2. A lot of the studies are still in the realm of verification. A lot of these studies haven't been peer reviewed, but there are some studies which haven't been peer reviewed which do suggest that it could potentially be more infectious and therefore more transmissible, could cause disease in a large number of people. It's a wait and watch as far as the C.1.2 is concerned. The WHO hasn't labelled it as a variant of interest or concern. We'll keep a close watch though on these developments. Thank you all very much for sparing your time and being with us on NDTV.